I rewrote my story after my husband used me to impress his mistress. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. My husband smirked, smile wider. She's watching. His breath barely touched my ear as the maitre d' angled a spotlight toward our table at Lark, the kind of restaurant where plates look like art installations and everyone pretends they're not watching everyone else. I'm Maya, 29, a paralegal at a small tenants' rights firm. My work matters because I translate fear into paperwork that keeps people housed. Tonight, I'm pretending that my marriage matters too. Julian chose the corner banquette so the whole room could see us framed by glass and twinkle lights. Who's watching? I asked, making my voice soft, palatable. Potential client, he said, still smiling at the room. I tucked the discomfort under my ribs, counted the seconds between his glances at the door. When the hostess led in a woman in a red sheath dress, his posture changed, shoulders squaring like he'd been called to stage. Her name would land in my life soon enough, Sabrina. I sipped water, tried to ignore the feeling that I was a prop set carefully under bright bulbs. I thought about my clients, receipts, timestamps, the way a single bus stutter on a form could undo a life. Instincts matter. You look perfect, Julian said, still not looking at me. Don't ruin this. I told myself I had nothing to lose but my dignity, and then realized that was everything. The room went quiet as a phone buzzed across the table, and he turned the screen away. He flipped his phone as if the message might burn me alive tonight. When we started dating, Julian curated moments like he was pitching a brand campaign. He took candid photos of us laughing that I later found were planned. Angles, light, prop coffee. I saw the red flags and called them rose petals. When I shared long days from the clinic, filing emergency motions so a mother and 2 kids wouldn't be locked out, he said, "It's sweet you have a passion project." Passion project. Not a job, not a career. He'd kiss my forehead like I was a good dog for bringing back the stick. 2 weeks before Lark, his joke du jour landed during brunch with friends. Maya fights slumlords with staples and sticky notes. Everyone laughed, even me, because refusing would have meant being the killjoy at my own table. That afternoon, he bought me tulips to show I support you, photographing them against our window, editing the saturation until their red screamed. I posted nothing. He did. Caption: proud of my girl's big heart. He hearted his own caption from a second account. I reminded myself he'd been kind when I was sick in March, sat with me during N4 drip. Then later I found the selfie he took of my wristband and his watch, a story about being a supportive husband. Micro-contempt hides inside public tenderness. You know it when you still feel small in the center of praise. At Lark, the joke on my tongue tasted like pennies. The maitre d' greeted the woman in red like an actress arriving late to curtain. First odd signals came dressed as conveniences. On April 18th, an open table confirmation popped into my email. For Seasons Bar, 2 seats, 7:30 p.m. under my name. I hadn't booked it. 30 minutes later, Chase flagged a $92 florist charge, peony and stem, also mine. Julian claimed it was a surprise for me, then delivered a grocery store bouquet instead, classic daisies with a barcode sticker still stubborn on the sleeve. I told myself he'd changed his mind. That night, he posted a blurry selfie from date night, a slice of red fabric blurred at the edge of frame. I recognized the mosaic tiles behind him, not our local bar, but the boutique hotel near the river. On May 2nd, I paused his Instagram story long enough to catch a reflection in a chrome elevator, a second figure, a hairstyle I didn't own. The DM hit at Lark, a stranger message request. Hey, weird. Is this your husband with Sabrina or? She's at my office. Then a photo of Sabrina laughing, head tipped back, her red sheath unmistakable, same as the woman walking toward us. My stomach dropped with the velocity of a bad elevator. Who's that? I asked, keeping my face polite. Investor, he said. We didn't need investors. He sold marketing packages to dentists and boutique gyms. Show them you're the backbone, he whispered. I smiled for the room while counting my breaths. Julian stood to greet her like he had rehearsed this exact entrance for months. Humiliation night had choreography. Julian ordered champagne to celebrate transparency, a line that made the waiter chuckle and me stiffen. Maya's the reason I can work these hours, he told the table that had somehow expanded to include Sabrina and 2 of Julian's clients. both men with loud watches. She believes in me. I lifted my glass because refusing would be noticed. Mid-toast, my phone lit with the stranger's second DM, screenshotting before it disappears. 4 images, each time stamped. 6:19 p.m. Sabrina's story. Lipstick on a flute. The reflection of a man's hands framing the shot. 6:42. Elevator mirrors, 2 figures. 6:58. A plate of oysters with his monogrammed cuff visible. 7:15. A boomerang of clinking glasses. Julian's laugh tangled in the background. I tucked the phone under a napkin, heart steadying into the practiced rhythm of building a case. "So, Maya," Sabrina asked, voice smooth. "What do you do?" I told her. She smiled, polite, bored. Important in its way. Julian's clients laughed. He touched my wrist. "She keeps us grounded." I wanted to ask who us was. "Smile," he breathed, and my jaw obeyed. On the walk home, he held my hand and said, "You were perfect." She needed to see I'm stable. I let go at the stoop, suddenly cold. He added, "Don't overthink one silly story," and locked his phone with a tap. I left 2 days later, not forever, just to breathe. Noah's couch smelled like detergent and cinnamon. He brewed tea like medicine. "You don't need proof to feel hurt," he said, setting a mug beside my laptop. "But if you want proof, you'll find it." Julian's messages pinged in paragraphs. "You're dramatic. You're abandoning me during a busy quarter. You know optics matter." He sent a photo of the tulips again, as if their red could drown my doubt. I muted him and pulled up my bank app. 2 charges I hadn't made. Peony and stem again, $64.50, May 4th, and a rideshare to the boutique hotel at 11:13 p.m. May 6th. My name. My card. I checked our shared calendar. Julian had labeled that evening client dinner. In the office the next morning, HR asked if everything at home was okay. Someone had called asking to confirm my work schedule for a surprise. Noah's eyebrows rose. "That's not a surprise," he said. "That's surveillance." I forwarded the DM screenshots to my personal email, then printed them, timestamps visible. I called my phone provider and requested a call log. The representative told me I could pick it up in person with ID. "Don't tell him where you are," Noah said, pressing his spare keys into my palm. Julian's final text that night read, "Come home tomorrow, we have a gala Saturday." Suspicion became decision at the phone store on May 8th. I requested detailed logs for April and May, then watched the clerk's eyebrows, neutral until they weren't. "You have 2 active eSIM profiles," he said. "Do you use a work number?" "My phone. 2 numbers. One ghosted as shared line." I paid $10 for a printed record and circled overlapping calls. Julian's cell to my ghost number at 6:03 p.m., followed by an outgoing call at 6:04 to Sabrina R. I felt my pulse as a drumbeat in my gums. At home, I opened photos. A hidden album appeared, Utilities, which Julian had once helpfully set up to organize receipts. It contained 11 short videos of toasts, each with a different group of people, each with me smiling tight beside him. In the reflection of chrome or glass, Sabrina hovered. Hair a smooth wave, phone angled just so. I logged into our rideshare account. Trips labeled client started and ended at Sabrina's building twice a week, often charged to my card. I printed everything and slid it into a manila folder. "What's your plan?" Noah asked. "Find out why," I said, but the better question was how to stop it. "Don't confront without a plan," he warned. "He'll make you the story." Julian texted a selfie in a tux. "You'll look perfect on my arm Saturday." Breadcrumbs led me across the city like a detective with a bad script and a good pen. I visited Peony and Stem and asked about the charges. May 4th, May 9th. The florist pulled the order notes. Delivered to Sabrina R. Courtesy of M. My name. My card. Standing order until June, she added. Pause or cancel? I canceled, jaw aching. Next stop, the Four Seasons bar. "We can't disclose guests," the bartender said. But when I set down a $20 and the printout of Julian's story reflection, he tilted his head. Every Tuesday, corner booth, same too. I walked to the hotel's lobby and studied the elevator panels, tracing my memory of the chrome reflection. On the way out, a neighbor from our building texted, "You okay?" Saw Julian Thursday with someone, looked like a realtor showing 19C. I wrote the time down, 7:27 p.m. then checked our Nest footage. Julian had disabled shared access on April 30th. At the phone store, I requested device location history for my ghost line. April 30th showed his office, then Sabrina's building, then our place at 11:02 p.m. Pattern. Back at Noah's, I interviewed myself like a client. Motive, means, opportunity, receipts, screenshots, witnesses. My case file thickened. I slept hard, dreamless. On Friday, a new open table email arrived. Reservation confirmed. Gala Lounge. 2 seats. 8:10 p.m. The mini twist arrived while I was rehearsing confrontation lines in the mirror. The DM stranger, whose name I finally learned, Ray, sent a voice note. "He's not cheating like you think," she said, then corrected herself. "He is, but the point is different. Sabrina's circle thinks he's reckless. He uses you as a stabilizer. Visible wife equals safe man." It snapped into clarity like a lens turning. I wasn't just camouflage. I was a credential. I scrolled through posts. Julian's captions bragging about date night with my rock, carefully geotagged. Then Sabrina's group appearing at different angles in the background. He kept me polished so he could be messy in private. I looked again at the florist notes and realized the M wasn't for Maya. It was for marketing. A sick joke he texted to Sabrina on April 25th. Optics honesty. M is my brand polish. He'd sent it to the ghost line. The preview now sat in the notification history I printed. Stakes shifted. This wasn't only infidelity. It was exploitation. If I confronted flat out, he'd call me hysterical and delete everything. If I built a careful exposure, I could step out intact. Noah whistled when I explained. "So you're the certificate of authenticity," he said. If I was his certificate, I decided to revoke it publicly and safely. The plan needed witnesses, counsel, and insurance. I met attorney Ellis at a coffee shop near my office on May 15th, slid the manila folder across the table. He read quietly, asked few questions, and finally said, "You have enough for leverage and for safety. Do not ambush without an exit." He taught me phrases. "I do not consent to being filmed. I'm leaving now. All communication must be written." He advised I record any meeting in a one-party consent state. Ours, blessedly, was one. He also told me how to compile a timeline, dates, amounts, sources, in plain language. I spent that night creating a spreadsheet. April 18th reservation, April 25th brand polish text, May 2nd elevator reflection, May 4th to 9th florist charges, May 6th rideshare, May 8th eSIM discovery, May 12th neighbor sighting at 19C, May 17th gala RSVP. I exported it to PDF and printed 2 copies. For the reveal, I wanted public but controlled. The charity gala on May 17th had a donor lounge with a projection screen. The coordinator, an old client, owed me a favor after we helped her landlord case. If I send an HDMI feed from my laptop for 10 seconds, I asked her, "Could you accidentally put it on the donor loop?" She hesitated. 10 seconds, she said. Then I pull it. 10 seconds could be forever. I sent Sabrina an invite through Julian's email, blind copying myself to confirm receipt instantly. Julian sensed the current flipping and changed tactics. Love bombing arrived in an avalanche. Breakfast at the door, voluble apologies about pressure, promises to slow down and listen. When that didn't pull me back, he pivoted to threats. "Leave now, and I'll tell people you're unstable." I screenshot everything. At his mother's birthday, on May 16th, he wrapped an arm around my waist so tightly it felt like a handcuff. "We're solid," he announced to the room, eyes sweeping for Sabrina's cousin, a guest I recognized from Ray's feed. In the kitchen, he whispered, "Don't embarrass me tomorrow. You owe me that." "I owe myself the truth," I said, hands trembling. Noah squeezed my shoulder later on the porch. "One boundary," he said. "If he raises his voice, you leave. If he lies, you leave. If you feel unsafe, you leave." Simple, actionable. I wrote it on a sticky note and stuck it to my phone. That night, Julian texted a selfie from a tux fitting. "Bow tie askew, grin familiar. Tomorrow, we're a power couple again," he wrote. I muted him and set 3 alarms. At 6 a.m., a calendar invite arrived titled Optics Sync, SAB, plus J, plus M, 8:45. I arrived at the gala early with Noah and a calm I didn't trust. The donor lounge was chilled bright, all acrylic and chrome. The coordinator, Maritza, met my eyes and gave a tiny nod. 10 seconds, she mouthed. I sent a quick message to Ellis. Green light. He replied with a thumbs up and, remember, documented, then depart. Julian arrived at 8:20, Sabrina at 8:31, like planets keeping appointment with the tide. You look perfect, he said, that word again, and I almost laughed. Maya, Sabrina said, surprise flickering before she masked it with warmth. Finally meet the legend of stable wife. We drifted toward the donor loop screen, a slow orbit. My laptop hummed in my bag. HDMI adapter coiled like a small silver snake. At 8:43, I excused myself to the restroom, slid into a side office, and opened the Utilities hidden album on the mirrored monitor. I cued the 10-second clip, the April 25th text preview above our calendar overlay. Optics, honesty, M is my brand polish, followed by the elevator reflection, then the florist notes. No names, just dates, places, receipts. Enough for anyone in the room to understand context. My finger hovered over play. Julian's knock landed on the office door as the donor loop cut to black. I pressed play. The screen in the lounge bloomed with my 10 seconds. The text, the calendar blocks, the reflection with a red sheath's unmistakable edge, the florist note, delivered to Sabrina R., courtesy of M. Whispered oxygen left the room. Julian lunged toward the AV card, but Maritza already fixed the loop, cutting back to sponsors. Technical glitch, she called brightly. It didn't matter. 10 seconds had stretched into a thesis. Lena from Julian's client list stared at him as if he'd grown a second face. Sabrina looked at me, not him, and for a heartbeat I saw something like relief crack through her performance. Then Julian turned on me, voice low, smile stapled on. You vindictive little, no filming, I said quietly, and raised my phone, recording audio. All communication must be written. He hissed that I'd ruined a deal. I told him he'd ruined his own optics by needing a human shield. Sabrina shook her head. You told me she was okay with arrangement, she said, voice trembling. You told me she needed the image too. Ellis's text pinged, leave now. I nodded at Maritza, who stepped between us like a bouncer in silk. Julian's smile finally cracked as security asked him to calm down or exit immediately. Fallout is never cinematic. It's paperwork and awkward silence. Julian's firm paused 2 contracts, pending optics. His mother called to ask if I could fix the misunderstanding. Sabrina posted a Notes app apology that wasn't to me. It was to her followers for stepping into a complicated situation. Ray messaged, you did it right. Short, undeniable, then gone. HR checked in at my job. I handed them Ellis's template letter stating I needed a week of flexible hours for safety and legal reasons. Julian emailed long into the nights, alternating between begging and blame. I rerouted his messages to a dedicated folder labeled Evidence and set an auto-reply. All communications must be written. I will respond via counsel as needed. My stomach still dropped at sudden noises. I found my hands shaking on the train. But I had leverage and clarity. I canceled the ghost line, closed the joint credit card, and moved half the savings I'd contributed into an account Ellis helped me open. When Julian appeared outside Noah's building on May 22nd, I called the non-emergency number and documented the visit. You've made a mess out of nothing, he said. You made a brand out of me. I replied, and shut the door. He slid a note under the door that read, talk tonight, or I go nuclear. Healing isn't pretty. It's a checklist. Therapy on Wednesdays at 9. Block and delete rituals like brushing teeth. I wrote a conditions for contact document, signed and dated. No in-person without counsel. All property exchanges via scheduled pickup with third party present. No financial entanglement without written agreement. Ellis reviewed it and added one line. Violation constitutes harassment. I returned the tulip vase to our apartment during a timed pickup, took my grandmother's quilt and the thick case file I no longer needed to open to remember. Noah taught me boring dinners, rice, vegetables, a protein, because eating felt like solving a puzzle. I took photos of the quiet things, a coffee cup on a sunny windowsill, my sneakers by the door, proof that a life can be small and still be real. When Julian tried one more play, sending me a charity article with a photo of us cropped to his smile, I sent back my single sentence. remove my image, or I file a takedown. It disappeared within the hour. Boundaries became muscle memory. I didn't win the internet. I won my evenings. I wrote letters to my clients with extra gentleness. They would never know why my notes had more commas. On a Saturday morning, my phone buzzed with an unknown number and a familiar cadence. Last chance to talk like adults. Julian wrote from a new number, as if civility were an accessory we could put on. I stared at the message over my second cup of coffee, sun spreading over the table like butter. I thought about the women in my files, the fathers and sons and aunties who save rent receipts in envelopes like relics. They don't need grand gestures. They need proof, language, and a way out. I responded with the only thing that mattered. All communications must be written. Send through counsel. Then I silenced the thread and opened the window to let my air in. If you're listening to this, if your love has become a photo op, I want you to hear me clearly. Collect quietly, store safely, tell the truth once, then step back and let consequences do their slow, unglamorous work. A week later, a small hopeful thing happened. I laughed at a joke Noah made and realized I hadn't checked the door in an hour. I kept laughing. Dignity felt like a room I could furnish with ordinary light. Love, I learned, is not an audience, it's a practice. And I'm practicing.